So guys, what you're seeing here ngayon is the brand new Ford Territory Hybrid. And this also makes it the world premiere of this particular Territory variant. That's because in other countries, for example, in China, what you actually get there is the Territory plug-in hybrid. But here in the Philippines, or basically in any part of the world, this is going to be the first time that a Territory hybrid will be offered anywhere else.
More on that later. For now, if you like what you're seeing, or even these kinds of reviews, why not hit subscribe and hit the bell?
What a car! What a car this thing! This also marks the mid-cycle facelift of this popular crossover SUV. So as you're going to be seeing sa front end, it looks very edgy, very angular. So worth sharing, I think, is the fact na yung kanyang hood panel along with the fenders and the front bumper, these three components are all new for this vehicle. Matching those are new LED headlights, which in the case of the range-topping Titanium X, which you're going to be seeing later, that comes with the coast-to-coast full-width LED light bar, giving this crossover SUV a more distinct exterior look. Now, as for the rest of the vehicle, the side profile is pretty much unchanged, except of course for the hybrid sticker sa kanyang side rocker panels and your new alloy wheel designs. So, here in this base trend, you have 18-inch two-tone wheels, while the range-topping Titanium X, what you get there are nicer 19-inch wheels. Now, as you move towards the interior, what you're gonna be seeing here is a familiar interior layout. So, design-wise, this is almost pretty much unchanged pa rin from the previous version. Pero ngayon, what you get here are these yellow stitching details complementing the new color scheme for the Territory Hybrid. And then, as for the seat designs, they're also new here. So you have this sort of rectangular motif. And then, worth noting is that here in the base trend, what you get there is synthetic leather seats, while in the range-topping Titanium X, what you get there is perforated leather seats. Now, let's talk about the gauge cluster here, because here in the base trend, what you get is a smaller 7-inch screen, while the infotainment itself is still the same pa rin. So it's a 12.3-inch large full infotainment display, and that is of course standard across both here in the trend and the range-topping Titanium X. And then as we move towards the rear seats, again, being a Ford Territory, this is pretty spacious. That's always been the hallmark of this car. And then what you get there are USB fast charging ports and your own aircon vents. Now, moving towards the trunk, you're gonna be seeing there, malaking ka ng storage area, especially despite the fact na even though this is a hybrid, and of course, that would mean a large battery pack under the rear floor, meron ka pa ring spare tire. Unlike other vehicles na when they go hybrid, for example, in the CR-V, nawala na yung rear spare tire, but thankfully here in the Territory, that is not a case. Manual tailgate for this base trend, and with that in mind, that is a good time for us to start driving this car and see what has changed in terms of the driving experience now that this car is a hybrid.
So sabi ko nga kanina, this also marks the world premiere of the Ford Territory Hybrid. In this case, the system blends a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder along with an electric motor. Though hindi pa sinabi ni Ford yung kanyang total system output, the numbers of their individual power sources are similar to the Chinese market plug-in hybrid version. Except of course, this car has a smaller battery and thus no need to think about charging this car. This is all hooked up to a 2-speed direct hybrid transmission, or basically a 2-speed automatic gearbox. This is now also a good time for me to showcase to you the range-topping Titanium X. This car gets a full suite of advanced driver assistance systems, ranging from full-speed adaptive cruise control, blind spot warning, rear cross traffic alert, and a new lane centering function. Apart from that, meron ka rin ditong wireless charging along with ventilated front seats.
So we've switched to the Titanium X, the range-topping version. And what you're gonna be seeing here sa kanyang interior is that this now gets genuine perforated leather seats, along with, of course, this large panoramic sunroof and a 12.3-inch fully digital gauge cluster. You also get a power adjustable driver's seat, and apart from those minor stuff, that is pretty much it in terms of their differences in their specs. And so with that in mind, that's a good time for us to start driving this car. And how does a Ford Territory Hybrid feel like on the road? First things first, what you get here is a 1.5-liter turbocharged EcoBoost 4-cylinder gas engine along with a 2-speed dedicated hybrid transmission. So in terms of how it works, it is kind of similar to Honda's EHEV hybrid system. So with the Honda system kasi, what you have is a clutch-based system, and in this case, the engine can also completely disconnect, unlike in the Toyota hybrid systems na due to the planetary gear ECVT of the Toyota cars, the engine will always be connected to the wheels kahit ang gusto lang naman niyang gawin is to charge the vehicle. And that is why you will always feel vibration sa kanilang mga throttle pedal even if what the engine is only doing is to charge the car's battery. But here with the Ford hybrid system, the engine can completely disconnect and run in pure series mode. So the engine's just charging the battery but not powering the wheels. And as a result of that, compared to, for example, the hybrid system sa Toyota Yaris Cross, this car feels much smoother. So ngayon, the gasoline engine is running, but it is not powering the wheels and is solely just charging the battery. But of course, later, when the battery reaches a high enough state of charge, the engine will of course turn off and let the car cruise in pure electric mode. That is actually one of the major improvements of this car, because as a result of this hybrid system, the new Territory feels far smoother to drive, because before, the order of the day in the previous Territory, sa totoo lang, the pre-facelift model, is either turbo lag or a bit of hesitation and clunkiness with the dual clutch transmission. To be fair, yung wet dual clutch ng previous model is pretty good. I mean, it's an improvement compared to other dry type dual clutches, pero no doubt na with this hybrid system, the car feels far smoother. And coupled with the smoother drivetrain as a result of going the hybrid route, even the steering is new this time around. So meron ka na ngayong mga modes for the steering wheel, basically adjusting its weight and heaviness. Pero in terms of outright feedback, well, yeah, it's still not that rich in feel. Precision-wise, it's okay. Not sporty, but okay. Hindi rin siya completely dead though, but again, it's okay. Better than some Chinese cars. Probably as good as what you would expect in, for example, a Yaris Cross or a Corolla Cross. It's those kinds of steerings lang. Not too light, but not exactly brimming with feel either. Then as for the suspension, even that part, Ford retuned the suspension for this car. So it delivers a much better ride this time around, though only a real-world drive in the kinds of roads that I would drive on a daily basis will only allow me to dictate whether the Territory's ride quality has really improved. And then lastly, one of the other things that Ford wants to highlight with this car is its so-called comfort braking system na sa totoo lang, unless you've driven the two cars back-to-back or you brake with the system turned on and off, you really won't feel much of a difference with the car's so-called comfort braking. Pero basically, after driving the previous Territory and with the system turned on and off, yeah, there is really a difference with the comfort braking. So, ang nangyayari dun is that, let's say you mash the brake, rather than delivering the full braking force based on your braking input, it's gonna make the brake pressure delivery a bit more linear, a bit more smoother kung sabihin natin. But yeah, basically overall, these are small tweaks, small refinements in making the Ford Territory a far smoother car compared to the previous model. So totoo lang, the sole fact na this car now has a hybrid system, it cures two things that I didn't like with the previous Territory, which is one, turbo lag from the 1.5-liter gas engine, along with a bit of hesitancy and a bit of, though mababa na, but a bit of clunkiness with the previous 7-speed dual clutch transmission. So overall, this Ford Territory for me is now a car worth recommending. It feels smoother to drive, it feels more civilized, more composed. It's now a car that would really compete extremely well, especially with the advent of cars like the BYD Sealion 6 and even cars like the MG ZS Hybrid. Of course, sealing the deal with the car's value proposition would be its final pricing, which as you're gonna be seeing here, is actually kind of well priced. Admittedly though, the BYD Sealion 6 has really disrupted the automotive industry in terms of its aggressive pricing, but as far as prices go, the 1.4 to 1.6 million peso price tag of this Ford Territory Hybrid is still pretty good nonetheless, especially when you compare it to the likes of the Toyota Corolla Cross, which you have to remember is still smaller than this car because the Territory is a much bigger car. It isn't a compact segment na after all, and therefore you really do get a lot of car with this Ford Territory this time around.